When you're working with uPlanIt, you can easily test your ideas about a suitable funding plan, finding that magic combination of meeting the needs of the association, yet not asking too much of the homeowners. Our clients tell us uPlanIt has become their go-to tool for exploring different options. They can quickly and easily get the data they need to decide which options work and, more importantly, which options don't work for their association. Follow along as I demonstrate what it looks like using uPlanIt to test your different funding plan ideas. Next idea is adjusting your funding plan. This is probably how our clients or our users use it the most. So they get their completed reserve study and we say how much they need to be setting aside towards reserves. And I just want to show you how that actually works. So here we go, back to the demo property, 5-building townhome. And first off, let's check to make sure that we have the correct starting balance and interest 1%, inflation 3%. If I'm making any changes, I can save it. I'll do that in a moment. But the reserve study says that, actually I made a bunch of changes, so I'll demonstrate something else. This is how you can always kind of reset to what is a full funding plan. Click the full solver. And didn't make enough changes that didn't change the funding. Or you can see, what's it take just to stay cash positive? So let's click the baseline solver. And you can see they're starting out pretty strong now at almost 80% funded. And they maintain cash positive. You can double check that here in the tables and charts. Yeah, they get down to just $4,000 here, and that's a little thin from my point of view. Or they can look at their cash flow chart and they can see, again, cash flow. They're not going to have very much cash. Again, $4,000. So that's a way to quickly pop back and forth about, do you want to be fully funded, which is a pretty safe place to be, or just barely have enough cash to stay afloat. And maybe you as a treasurer, you as a manager want to say, okay, now that was a little more than we were expecting this year. We were at $3,500 last year. Let's see with updated components what happens if we use last year's rate of $3,500. And let's just recalculate. And we see that they're really going to be reducing the strength of the reserve fund, and they eventually, what we say, crash and burn. So you realize that's not a good idea. Actually, you learned in the baseline solver that the lowest you should fund is about $3,750. So let's give them reserve funding of $4,000, and let's increase it at 3% for, as you can see here, 25 years or so. And let's recalculate and maybe say, yeah, that's okay. But we can do better than that. Let's try $4,250 and recalculate. There you go. So you're saying somewhat stable. You're not destroying the future of the association, but you're also not getting quite up to 100% funded. But this is exactly what you can use uPlanIt for, to find out, basically to test your assumptions. And you can also say that, we can do $3,700 now, but we can do 5% increases for the next 5 years. And after that, we just float upward with inflation, 3% increase. Recalculate. And so they're increasing their reserve funding 5% for 5 years, and then just 3%. Let's make that a little more dramatic. Increase at 10%. There we go. Now you can see that. Increasing at 10%, and then 3% for the next few years. And you actually overshoot. And you think, wow, that's an okay plan. Maybe we'll just go down to 4 years at that 10%. And you can, this is how, again, how you get to test these ideas, find out what's going on If you were at an association where you had a big expense early in the first year or two, you could try out a special assessment, which you don't need in this case. But you can see the effect of that special assessment. It gives them a bump here. And that's exactly what's going on here. You could save it. You could print it. You've got a great idea here, whatever it is. And of course, you can always press reset and start back at zero. But that's pretty much what our clients do with this. I love seeing clients doing this because they are taking ownership of the reserve plan. They say, okay, the reserve said we need to do this, but we have this idea. Start lower, increase next year. Maybe we do a special assessment. Oh, let me show you another couple things. Let's go over to the control panel. Okay, actually here, we've got it somewhat balanced here with the current scenario. And you say, we've got better part of $300,000. What's it worth to us to spend the time and energy to buy some CDs and get 4% interest, which you can really do nowadays? Okay? So let's save that and go over here to recommendations, and wow, look what that does. Okay, remember this. I'm writing this down, $3,700. We were balanced at $3,700 of reserve funding. Let's try 34. I calculate. Wow. Big effect. Yeah, 3,100. So basically, by changing from getting only 1% on your money up to 4% on your money, you are saving your association $600 a month. It went from $3,700 of reserve needs down to $3,100 worth of reserve needs. That's worth a trip to the bank. So you can change interest, you can change inflation. We're doing a 30-year plan here. We don't recommend changing the inflation too much because it needs to be a somewhat stable number. You could adjust the starting balance. Let's say the utility company that did all that asphalt work broke your gate and you had to spend $10,000 to fix your front gate. So instead of having $292,000, you have $282,000. Okay? Bingo. Done. Probably shouldn't be a big thing. Yeah, you don't even see it here, but at least you've been able to make that change. Starting reserve balance as $282,000, not $292,000. You can change the funding profile and a special assessment. And again, does not change your reserve study. And you can print it out. You can say, I think this is good. Show it to other people. And on that point, remember, uPlanIt is one thing. If you have a bunch of users, if you've added 2 or 3 or 4 users and you all have your fingers in this, one person's changes is going to overwrite another person's changes. So make sure you're communicating amongst yourselves and make sure that you are printing and documenting any really good plans you have just in case someone else goes in there and just starts tinkering. All right? So that's adjusting your funding plan. At Association Reserves, we make the present less stressful and the future more secure. If you want to join us in this mission, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment down below on what you'd like to see us address in a future video. Let's plan for your best future.